Hello everyone, this is a lesson in grammar. Although I say grammar, I mean that I am going to speak to you about the use of English, about certain ways of using English, and in particular I am going to speak to you about articles, prepositions and conjunctions. I am sure that you have studied all these before, and perhaps what I am going to do is remind you of what you have studied. Perhaps also tell you about different ways of looking at the same things. Let me begin by speaking to you about articles. I know that all of you have studied about articles in school, perhaps in college, before now. You all know that there are two types of articles. There is the definite article and there is the indefinite article. You all know that when we refer to the definite article, it is the, 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 and the indefinite articles are a and an. But I am sure that what you have learnt in school is that the indefinite articles a and an are used before consonants and an is used before vowels. Let me clarify what I mean when I say that you need to revisit what you have studied before. The reason is that a clarification will tell you that a is used before words with consonant sounds and an is used before singular words with the vowel sound. Let me repeat that for you. A is used before words, singular words, beginning with a consonant sound, and an is used before words, singular words, beginning with a vowel sound. I am sure you have studied about sounds in one of your other classes in phonetics. Let me illustrate what I have said to you now. As I said, let me demonstrate what I have just spoken to you about. The articles are of two kinds: the indefinite articles a and an, and the definite article the. Both these kinds of articles are used before nouns or noun phrases. You may have already read about this, you may have studied articles, and you must have used them in different sentences. Perhaps you have had occasion to do exercises in grammar using these articles. But I am sure you have experienced a lot of difficulties in using them in your day-to-day speech and language. The reason is that our languages, Indian languages, do not have articles the way English has them. That makes it very difficult for a second language learner, for a learner in India who is studying English as a second language, to remember how and where to use the articles. Most of the time what happens is that we either select the wrong article, or we do not put in an article where it is necessary, or we put in an article where it is not required at all. So in order to guard against this, what I would suggest is that you practice using articles, which means do plenty of exercises to insert articles into sentences, to write sentences using articles, and to listen to and read books which have sentences of this type. So I suggest that you use articles in your speech and writing, or you become more sensitive to, more careful in your use of articles. If you do that, you will find that you are more aware of where and when and in what situations articles need to be used. Let me continue from there. At the beginning I told you that we need to be careful to remember that the indefinite article. At the beginning I told you that we need to be careful about the use of the indefinite article. We were told by our teachers that the indefinite article a is used before words that begin with consonants. The problem that we experience, as I said, as Indian learners, is that we are unable to find out which consonant sound is used at the beginning of the word. What I mean to say is, we look for the alphabet that is a consonant, the letter of the alphabet which is a consonant, and we are misled in the use of the article. That's where we need to guard against using the wrong indefinite article a or an. A is used before a singular word beginning with a consonant sound. An is used before a word beginning with a vowel sound. What do we mean by a consonant sound and a vowel sound? The problem with English and with second language learners who are studying English is that the letters of the alphabet in English do not match the sounds of the language. Very often, what looks like a consonant does not exactly get pronounced as a consonant, and learners get confused about the use of the articles. The indefinite article a. A is used before words like man, child, boy, girl, woman, door, page, etc., which start with a consonant sound and are singular, and no previous reference has been made to them. This is to remind you about the rule that you might have studied in school before. A is used when a previous reference has not been made to the article, to the noun. It is used when the noun is in the singular. That is, we are not making a reference to a number of nouns or a number of objects or persons or places. I'm sure you remember this rule. Notice how you saw the words that were given on the screen. The words begin with the letters M, C, B, G, W, D, P, all of which are consonant letters, and the sounds you hear are also consonants. Let us move to some of the difficulty areas. In the use of the indefinite article a, we experience some difficulty with words like European, union, university, yellow, year, one time, 1 hour program. In front of all these words which are given for you on slide, in front of all these words we use the indefinite article a because we hear the sounds of a vowel instead of the consonant which appears on the page. So what I am saying is, be careful to find out whether the consonant which you see on the page, whether the first letter of the word is in fact a consonant sound or not. For this, I suggest you go to a dictionary. If you read through the dictionary and look for the sound, the way in which the word is pronounced, you will be told whether the first sound is a consonant sound or a vowel sound. This will guide you about the use of the article. Let's move ahead now to the indefinite article an. The indefinite article an is used before words that begin with a vowel sound, like ant, airport, eagle, engine, ink, orange, hour, honest, umbrella, MA. Notice that while most of these words look like vowels and sound like vowels, you will find that there are 3 or 4 words which don't exactly look like vowels. Look again at slide 6. The words that seem to begin with consonant sounds or seem to begin with consonant letters are hour, honest, MA. But if you say the words aloud, you will notice that the sound which you hear is that of a vowel. The H in hour, the H in honest is silent. Therefore, we must remember to pronounce these words the way they are written, or the way they are written in the dictionary, that is, without the H sound which is seen in the letter H. This will guide us in the use of the indefinite article an. I have merely revisited some of the rules of use of a and an. This is not a comprehensive or complete description of all the uses of these indefinite articles. Let me move on to something else which is significant. We have what is known as the generic use of a. Look at slide 7. In slide 7 you will see that I have given you an example of a sentence like this. A cow is a useful animal. We could say a dog is a faithful animal. When we read a sentence like this, or when we utter a sentence like this, what we actually mean is that we are referring to all cows or all dogs. We are making a generic or a general reference to the species that the cow represents. In that sense, when we make a reference not to a particular animal but to the species as a whole, we need to use the article a. It would mean the same as all cows are useful animals or all dogs are faithful animals. This is again another rule or a deviation from what you might expect as a standard in the use of the article a. When we talk about the use of the definite article the, look at slide. The definite article the specifies or identifies a person, place or thing already mentioned. In grammar, we refer to it as an anaphoric reference. That means the is used when the object, person or place has been referred to earlier. When we make a second reference to that person and we know who we are talking about, we use the article, the definite article the. For example, there is an engineering college at Kadapa. The college is located close to Amir's house. He studies in the college in the 3rd year mechanical engineering class. Notice how in the sentence, in the second sentence particularly, the word the makes a second reference to the college. We know which college it is. We know that the college being referred to is the college that was described or mentioned in the first sentence. Therefore, we use the word the instead of a or a. Let's move ahead to an exercise now. Fill in the blanks with a, an or the. What lovely dress. I have headache. You have made good suggestion. We all know that Rohit is honest man. This is school where Sudha studied. That was a simple exercise, wasn't it? Let's move on to something else that we need to note in the use of articles. We say that the indefinite article is used before countable nouns. It cannot be used before uncountable nouns. What is the problem related to uncountable nouns and countable nouns that non-native speakers or second language speakers experience? The problem is that we believe that all nouns or most nouns are countable. This is not true in English. Let me show you a list of some uncountable nouns in the English language. Some uncountable nouns in English: hair, behavior, permission, scenery, trouble, furniture, advice, weather, traffic, blood, information, progress. All these nouns are used as uncountable nouns in English. We experience difficulty in pronouncing them and in identifying them as requiring an indefinite article because we believe that they can be counted. Very often we find students making an error in the use of a word like hair. I have heard sentences like, her hairs are flying, which is not a correct sentence in English because hair is an uncountable noun in English and it cannot be used in the plural form. So you cannot also say things like, he gave me a good advice. It does not require an article there. This is what I meant when I said that we need to be careful in the use of an article where it is not required at all, or in forming a plural out of an uncountable noun. We cannot, for instance, say, please give me these informations. Information is an uncountable noun. It cannot be used in the plural form. We shall talk more about it when we look at determiners. And we shall talk about the words which do not take the indefinite article or the definite article but need to be dealt with differently. Let us move on now to yet another exercise. This is an exercise in identifying the uncountable nouns. Tick the correct underlined word. What you have to do is to select from among the two underlined words the correct word and mark it. Juhi has very long hairs. Hair. Raju was listening to musics. Their behavior made me feel ashamed. The principal gave us good advice. Keep your luggages in the room. Why do we experience difficulty with the use of the indefinite article in these sentences? For instance, we may say, there was a luggage in the room. This sentence would be noticed as an incorrect sentence in English because we can say a piece of luggage, but you cannot say a luggage in English. In such a case, it is not necessary to use an indefinite article before the word luggage. I have merely repeated what I had said earlier about being able to identify words which require an article and words which do not. As I said earlier, I am not giving you all the rules of the language, nor am I going to tell you about all the uses of the articles. I have just picked some prominent examples, some specific areas where Indian learners go wrong, so that you will become sensitized or more careful in your speech and in your writing about the use of articles. Now I shall talk to you about prepositions. Prepositions is another area where most Indian learners or students of English in India find or experience difficulty. Why do they do that? One of the reasons is that Indian languages do not have prepositions of the kind that you find in English. The other is that there are some words in Indian languages which would mean the same as others in English. I give you the example of with or near, which has the same word in Telugu, Degira, and many students confuse the use of the two words. Let me come back to what I was saying about prepositions. A preposition is a preposition, or a word which is used before the pronoun and tells the relationship between the noun and the pronoun. Let's look at some definitions of preposition. A preposition is a word or a group of words used before a noun or pronoun to show the place, position, time, method, etc. This is one definition of a preposition. A slightly different definition is given to you. A preposition is a word used with a noun or pronoun to show its connection with another word. Sometimes we call prepositions or prepositional phrases adverbials. That is, when they tell us the relationship between the noun and the verb, and in fact qualify the verb. We also have what are known as prepositional phrases. That is, prepositions which are not one word prepositions, but are prepositions which have more than one word. Sometimes they are formed of two words. Sometimes they are formed of more than two words. And at times they are a complete phrase. We shall look at all these in the course of this part of the lesson. Let me begin with some very simple prepositions, which are prepositions of position. The most simple ones, as you all know, are in, at and on. We shall study some examples of these and then look at the way in which they connect the noun with the rest of the sentence. In. There's a chair in the room. I live in a village. There are no apples in the basket. At Goa, we saw some people swimming in the sea. She had the money in her purse. Did you read the article in the newspaper today? Take your seat in the second row. The stars in the sky are shining brightly. Who are the three persons in the picture? There are no cars in the street now. I'm sure you have noticed that in has been used in different contexts. In some places it refers to an article in a newspaper. In others it refers to a picture. These are some of the ways in which we can use the preposition in. More often than not, it relates the position of one object or one noun with another noun. For instance, I could say that I am going to place this pencil into my bag. Let me move on to the next preposition. Let us look now at the preposition at. In this slide you can see that there are 5 sentences using the preposition at. Put his name at the top of the list. You are tall, you should stand at the back. Get off the bus at the bus stop at Koti. Put a tick mark on the item at the bottom of the page. Priya was at the canteen this afternoon. In these sentences, you must have noticed that some of the words form what is known as a prepositional phrase. For example, at the top of in the first sentence is called a prepositional phrase because all the words are part of the description which relates the word name to the word list. Where is the name to be put? It is to be put at the top of the page. Similarly, in sentence 2, you are tall, you should stand at the back. Get off the bus at the bus stop at Koti. Read through these sentences once again carefully to understand how they explain the relationships between the nouns and the pronouns, or the nouns and the rest of the sentence. Look now at the use of the preposition on. Let me first read out the sentences to you. We live on the 5th floor. Don't walk on the grass. There are 2 fans and a chandelier on the ceiling. Shobha has a mole on her chin. Please keep this vase on the table. Have you read the report on the accident? Hang the picture on the wall. Could you please pick up the book on your way? Spread the mat on the floor. The label is pasted on the book. In all these sentences, you must have noticed that the word on describes the relationship, the positional relationship or the locational relationship between one noun and another, or one noun or pronoun and another. For example, you have a vase here with some flowers in it. This flower is at the top. The vase is placed on the table. Why am I telling you about the use of this preposition? Look again at a sentence like this. The pencil is placed on the red book. The red book is on top of the green book. I have a pen in my hand. I shall place it on the book. The reason why I have spoken to you about these prepositions and given you some examples is because you would be familiarized with the use of prepositions. I'm sure you read stories. I'm sure you listen to English which is spoken. I'm sure you read books of your subject, related to your subject, where you come across a lot of prepositions. But you need to specifically pay attention to their use in order to familiarize yourself with their use and to be more conscious about using them in your own language. That is the best way to learn grammar and to learn how to use the language. Let me now give you an exercise. Fill in the blanks using in, at or on. My bus comes to Hyderabad at 6 a.m. Can you meet me the bus stop? You will find my pen dash the table. Could you please bring it? There were beautiful flowers dash the garden. I wish I could go and live dash a small village. She always sits dash the front row in class. The Golconda Fort is dash Hyderabad. Paste it dash the top of the page. You can sit dash the bench in the park. Let us meet dash Lumbini Gardens. Include Ramya's name dash the list. Have you done the sentences? Have you worked through all the sentences in this exercise? You just needed to fill in one word in all of them. I hope you've done it and have got them all right. Let us now look at a picture and see how the prepositions are used in that picture. Let me read out to you how they have been described in the picture. Now let's look at a picture and see how the prepositions are used in that picture. From the picture, you will be able to visualize the relationships between objects, between persons, and between their places of location. Look carefully at the picture as I read these prepositions to you. There is a man going down the steps of the library. There is another man climbing up the ladder. There is a bucket beside or next to the ladder. A bicycle is placed outside the supermarket. There is a lamp above or over the doorway. There is a woman walking into the supermarket. or going into the supermarket. There's a man coming out of or coming through the doorway of the supermarket. There is another boy walking through the doorway of the bookshop. The bookshop is between the supermarket and the bank. There is a lady with a pram walking past the bookshop. You can see a man leaning against the wall below the sign of the bank. There is a lady in a pink dress standing by or near the bank. To the left of the picture, you can see a person on a motorbike. The motorbike is behind the car. It is at the crossing. We can see some people walking across the road in front of the car towards the direction or in the direction of the bank. One of the persons, a child, is pointing to or pointing at the car. There is a man getting off the bus and a lady getting on to the bus or getting on the bus. Here is a gentleman walking away from the bus stop. There are some children dancing around the flower bed near the bus stop. You can see a young couple walking along the pavement to the bus stop, and you can see the driver sitting in the car. You must have noticed that in the picture there are a number of people and their positions are relational. By reading out sentences about them, I have tried to show you that we can use expressions like this to describe people and to describe the relationship between one person and the place where he or she is located or standing. The reason again why I told you this is because you can use these expressions in your own speech. I suggest you write some sentences about a picture that you can pick up. That would be an exercise you could work on your own. Let's now look at some prepositions of place. Here are some prepositions of place. Look at the top left hand corner. All of these are single word prepositions. In, at, on, which you're already familiar with. Into, which suggests the movement from outside into a bag, into a car, into a bus. Up and to. At the bottom of the page, we have, to the left, we have some prepositions which suggest movement. Words like through, along, towards, under. In the center block, we have all the prepositions beginning with be. Between, before, behind, beside. Very often we make a mistake in the use of behind, because behind would mean at the back of, and many of us use it differently. At the center again, towards the bottom, we have three prepositions which suggest upon, which suggest place, upon, without as in outside, and among, which means in the middle of. Four prepositions towards the right corner are again combinations of words: inside, outside, within, round, and around, a variation of that. At the bottom right hand corner, we have again 4 prepositions which are two-word prepositions, and they are what we call idiomatic expressions as well. They are expressions which are used typically in English. We talk about somebody going about their work. I went about my work casually. The child ran across the street, or someone leaned against the table, or I'm standing by this table. This is the way these expressions can be used. Here is another exercise which gives you a small story. Read the paragraph carefully and choose the correct preposition or phrase. The blanks are numbered, so you can even note down the number on paper and write your answer. Aziz walked dash towards into the railway station and went dash near to the ticket counter. There he bought a ticket to Tenali. He had a bag dash on in his right hand. Dash the bag, he had some important papers. The two words you could use are inside or outside. As he walked dash from the ticket counter, a young boy was watching him. The words you can use are away, across. Aziz walked dash a bookshop, towards, out of. The boy walked dash him, but Aziz did not notice him. The two words you could use are behind, before. After buying a magazine, Aziz stood dash the platform waiting for the train. The two words you can use, the choice of words is between on and in. He put the bag down dash him to look at the magazine, and the choice you have is between beside and along. The boy suddenly came forward and picked up the bag and ran dash into the crowd. The two words given to you are away and about. Have you done this exercise? Notice how the context helps you to understand the meaning. This is what I have been saying about the use of prepositions. You need to visualize what you want to say. You need to think of the picture before you. You need to see whether you want to say that someone was in front or at the back, whether someone was behind someone or in front of them. You need to visualize the picture in order to be able to use the words for correctly, the prepositions correctly. Let us now look at prepositions that we are confused with, we generally get confused with. We normally make a mistake between the use of the preposition between and among. Between refers to two people or two persons. We can say there was a dialogue going on between the two persons. We had an argument between us, and we know that the reference was to two persons. We use the word among to refer to more than two persons. For instance, we say the discussion was going on among the participants in the workshop. The word amongst is a literary used. We don't normally use it. It is a word from Old English. It is used in literature. We don't use it in day-to-day life. We often make a mistake between the use of the two words beside and besides. The word beside, B-E-S-I-D-E, without the S, means next to. I could say, for instance, that there is a table beside me. I could say that the bank is beside the bookshop. But it is not correct to use the word besides to refer to something which is next to something else. The word besides means other than. For example, I have a sentence on the slide. I have no other work besides this. The meaning there is other than. Very often we make a mistake in the use of these two words, and I think I would like to draw your attention to this confusion that rests in our minds. Let's move ahead now to prepositional phrases. I referred to these earlier. I referred to the fact that we have more than one word performing the function of a preposition, then we call it a prepositional phrase. Here are some prepositional phrases for you to look at. According to, with regard to, with reference to, on account of, because of, by means of, in place of, in addition to, in accordance with, in front of, in order to, by virtue of, along with, away from, for the sake of, instead of, on account of. These are just a few examples of what prepositional phrases look like. The reason why I have shown them to you is that I would like you to explore, to look at other prepositional phrases and see how they are used. For this, you could go to a good dictionary. Any good dictionary would give you a combination of the verb and the preposition to show you the typical uses of these prepositional phrases in English. When I say typical, I mean that they have a way of functioning in the language. We cannot, for instance, move off from in place of and put in another word. These words generally go together. They form a set, and it is not possible to separate them and to use them differently. These have become a part of use, and it is necessary for any user of the language to understand that. Look now at the next slide, which shows you prepositions of time. Again, here are some expressions which have become a part of the English language. For the main parts of the day, we generally use expressions such as in the morning. We cannot say at morning. It's incorrect to do that. In the morning, Prasad goes for a long walk. In the afternoon, he comes home for lunch. He returns home by 7 p.m. in the evening. But notice how when we refer to the night, we use the preposition at. At night, he watches television till 11 p.m. Remember these little clues and you will be able to correct yourself. Here are some more prepositions of time. For referring to seasons, months, years and centuries, we use phrases such as in February. Look at the sentence. In February, we always have extra classes for completing the syllabus. Sheila is going to Tirupati in the summer. In the 21st century, man has become more materialistic. Prepositions of time 3. We use on for specific dates and days. For example, on 10th April, on Tuesday evening, on her birthday. We cannot use at if we are making a specific reference to a date or a day. Finally, I shall speak to you about conjunctions. Conjunctions are words which combine ideas or sentences. And you all know that the most common words are and, or and but. Look at some examples here. Conjunctions are joining words. The examples are and, or and but. And the sentences are you are young and beautiful. Or would you like to have tea or coffee? But I tried hard, but I couldn't pass the examination. In all these sentences, you would notice that there are two ideas. For instance, in the first sentence, there are two ideas. You are young, you are beautiful. We have combined the two by the use of the word and. This is a simple way of combining two ideas. We shall speak more about other ways, the use of clauses, in a later lesson. If we want to say something like the second sentence, if we want to convey an idea as has been expressed in the second sentence, would you like to have tea or coffee? There is a choice which is being expressed. It says, would you like to have tea? Would you like to have coffee? And since there is a choice, it is not both together. The two ideas have been combined, but it is one or the other. We use the expression or use the word or. In the third sentence, you will notice that there is a contrast which has been presented. I tried hard, but I couldn't pass the examination. Again, two ideas have been combined. The first idea is, I tried hard. The second idea is, I could not pass the examination. Since one idea, I could not pass the examination, is a consequence of the first, and it is the opposite of the first, we use the expression but. I tried hard, but I couldn't pass the examination. If we misuse the word here, and we put in and, you will notice that the meaning goes wrong. For instance, if I put the sentence this way, I tried hard and I couldn't pass the examination, it does not convey the idea very clearly. Therefore, we need to look at the meaning that we want to convey and then make a choice of the conjunction that we want to use. In this lesson, I have spoken to you about the use of articles, prepositions and conjunctions. My attempt has not been to give you all the rules of grammar or to try to give you everything that you could possibly know about articles, prepositions and conjunctions. I have tried to sensitize you to some of the uses of these three parts of speech so that you become more careful in your use of them in your day-to-day life, in your speech and in your writing. Good day.